Hi, if you've already arrived, I'm Helen, I'm here. I'm just waiting to see, we've got 7 people. I'm just waiting to see who's arriving because, 10 people, hi 11. It's really weird because I can't see you. And I've been teaching all morning on Teams, so I have to re-familiarize myself with Zoom. Welcome. I'm just going to wait a little bit longer before I start to make sure that everybody's here that wants to be here. The numbers are going up. 16 we've got now. Don't know where you all are, but it's great to have you here. 17. Great, we've got some people interested in sustainability. That's a win. Got 19 people so far. I guess you can all, I don't know whether you can see how many people are here or not. Just give it one more minute. It's 1 minute past 1, so I don't want anyone to miss out. I think 19 is pretty good. Let's hope we still have 19 in half an hour. Okay, let's make a start. So my name's, 20, we've got 20. My name's Helen Taylor. I started my first business in 2012, which became a commercial landscape architecture practice. And I built a team and we delivered successfully for a number of years, all B2B commercial landscape architecture, design and build a lot of the time, a lot for public sector. So I have experience in the sector. I've been to this event live, face to face. I haven't managed to come to any of the sessions this week, which is a shame, but I understand they're all recorded. So I've got knowledge and experience running a small business in this sector, and I understand the challenges that we've all been facing. But in the last few years, I've shifted my focus more because I studied an MBA at Nottingham Trent University. So I'm working now in the business school at Nottingham Trent University, supporting MBA students, but also on 2 projects that are related to sustainability. So I've taken a break from one of them today to come and deliver this webinar. So I want to help you understand why sustainability is important for businesses of all sectors, but how you can leverage it for your business and leverage it for competitive advantage and business growth. So I want to create environmental value in the work that I'm doing, but for me, this is about the business case. Why is it important for business? That's what the message that I want to get across, and to give you some tools that will help you do that. So to introduce the topic, hang on a minute, I've got my button on. We're going to cover the definition of sustainability. There's a lot of confusion about what sustainability is. And so we're just going to cover the agreed definition. Think about some basics around the theme of sustainability. Why is it important? Thinking about a business culture, how to assess the business to see what you're already doing. You might be already implementing some sustainable practices. Thinking about developing a sustainability strategy, understanding the policy needs of the sector, and then what business actions you might be able to take that are realistic, and also for me to give you some tips. And then we'll have a bit of a Q&A. So this definition of sustainability is not new, and there are others available on the internet if you want to have a look. But in 1987, the Brundtland Report published this definition that's widely agreed and used today. So when we're thinking about sustainability, we get confused between economic sustainability and environmental sustainability. And for this purpose, we're thinking about the environment. We're thinking about any development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of generations to meet their own needs. So we're not supposed to be, as responsible business owners, stripping the planet of all of its resources so there's nothing left for future generations. And that's the basic understanding of sustainability. There are other definitions. So this is one that we can use for business. So again, it's from the International Institute of Sustainable Development. adopting business strategies and activities that meet the needs of the enterprise, so that meet the business's needs and its stakeholders today, while protecting, sustaining and enhancing the human and natural resources that we will need in the future. So stakeholders, we talk about in business school language, stakeholders just means anybody that is impacted on by the activities of the business. It could be customers, it could be your supply chain, it could be the community, your clients. And the other thing that we can use to look at sustainability, another model, is thinking about the 3 pillars. So considering economic, environmental, and social, and that we should have businesses that consider all of those 3 things equally. And we want to make a profit. We all know we need to make a profit. We're going to achieve anything in business, but we want to also create environmental value and social value. And then we also can use the triple bottom line. So large organizations have for a while now used an approach to reporting their successes of the year using a triple bottom line approach. So that means financial reporting, environmental reporting, and social reporting, telling everybody what you're doing to create environmental value and social value. And then there are other models, so it gets a bit confusing, but just to make you understand that there are other ways of looking at this, and this might resonate more with people because it's thinking about natural capital, human capital, social capital, manufactured capital, and financial capital. So that's the 5 capital model. Just another model that we can use to help us look at sustainability and business. And then we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And these are really important because they've been around for a while. The United Nations has a website. There are lots of free resources for SMEs, for businesses on the website. And these goals have JPEGs for them on the website, and you can download all of these for free. So it's a very important resource for businesses that haven't got much cash or time to spend thinking about how to demonstrate what they're doing around sustainability. So these are really good for you to think about sharing with your teams, with your employees, to discuss how you want to approach achieving some of the goals. And there's more information about how you do that on the website. But you can, for example, decide that you're going to focus on a particular goal. It might be 13 climate action. You might decide that you're going to focus on that goal in 2021, and have a discussion with your team, with your colleagues, think about how you're going to approach delivering that goal within the business in an achievable, practical way. And then you can use the JPEG to communicate how you're going to do that, or what you're doing in your marketing material for your website, for example, for your social media. So they're really powerful tools, both practically, but also visually, to help us communicate to clients and stakeholders what we're trying to do. And we can't do it on our own. So we have to remember that we might be very small businesses, but we have a huge collective impact if we all make some positive change and we just make a start. I think people seem to want to wait for perfection before they do anything. It's not about having the perfect website, the perfect page on your website to demonstrate sustainability. It's just about making a start. What are we already doing that's good? How do we tell everyone about that? And how do we do more? So why do I think it's important for business? Well, I'm not the only one, but this is a summary of why I think it's important for business. And I think if you're in this sector, it's probably because you think about the environment, you think about nature, biodiversity, health and well-being, and all the things that we're trying to achieve collectively. And so I think that you need to consider the environment as a key stakeholder. So traditionally in business, we've had shareholder primacy in large organizations where the needs of shareholders have been put first. But more latterly, we've thought about the needs of stakeholders. And if we think about the environment as a key stakeholder, we can't ignore the environment in any decisions that we make about business. It doesn't have a voice of its own, so we have to speak for it. And then purpose. Purpose is really important in business, and I think this COVID-19 crisis has allowed us to all pause and think about what our purpose is. What on earth are we doing this for? Why have we got a business? What are we trying to achieve? What are our values? What do we feel responsible for? Has that changed in the last few months? How do we build a business that meets our own needs and creates the value that we want to create, as well as make a profit? And then we want to preserve natural resources. We don't have an infinite amount of soil left. We don't have, all of minerals. We are going to run out of minerals. All of the things that we're just so used to using, we're going to run out of. So we've got to protect those natural resources. And we've got to satisfy our customer needs and our stakeholder needs. So more and more people are being asked by customers, what are you doing about this? Where does this material come from? Where does this paving come from? Where did the soil come from? Did the plants imported from Holland, for example? We need to satisfy customer needs, but we also need to get ahead of those needs, because we need to anticipate future policy, future needs, but also think, well, what do we want to achieve in our business? How do we get ahead of those needs? How do we help our customers be more environmentally responsible? And then we need to differentiate. We can't all be doing the same thing in the same way. We need to be competitive. We need to do things differently. We need to focus on, we need to have an awareness of what our competitors are doing, but not a focus on them, because we need to think about what we want to do to create space in the market for our business. How do we differentiate? What makes us different from our competitors? And then sustainability is a really good tool for innovation. It helps us think about different materials, different products. We can think about our supply chain, transport. It's a way of disrupting what we're already doing and thinking about how we can do things differently in a more environmentally responsible way. And also on the back of that, we can reduce costs, we can be more efficient, and we can attract investment from investors who are interested in investing in sustainable businesses that are responsible. We need the right people in our organisations, and having an environmentally responsible business that is operating sustainably can attract the right people and keep those people happy, because they feel that they're working for a business that cares about the environment and society. And it helps us with our transparency. Like, it's okay for us to accept that not everything is perfect. There might be some things that we uncover when we investigate practices that we're not happy with. But if we're transparent about the journey that we're on, the steps we're making to make change, that's good. It helps us comply with legislation. And that's changing all the time, and keeping abreast with the legislation in a particular sector or industry is a challenge, but we need to keep abreast. We need to know what's going to impact us. And it can help us with marketing. I've already mentioned that the goals, the SDGs as we call them, are really useful to communicate what you're doing, but also building a narrative around how you're being successful in operating sustainably is really important. You can use it really powerfully for marketing content and on your website. And it also reduces risk. So we don't want to have a poor reputation for using the wrong kind of product. We don't want to be operating irresponsibly. And also, we don't want to be subject to the operational risk that a changing climate brings, from supply chain, from logistics, from transport, when we might be subject to big weather events, for example, that disrupt our transport mechanisms. We want to be resilient to operational risk. And we definitely don't want to be greenwashing. We just don't want to be putting a badge on something and pretending it's something that we're doing, pretending that we're operating in a green way when we're not. It's about being authentic and realistic, but not pretending. So to sum up the business case, 88% of SMEs, small businesses, value sustainability, but 70% struggle to know what to do with it. And so this is the main purpose of why I'm here, really, is to help you make that, to make a start if you haven't already. When I was running my business as it was before, I was very successful in tendering for large contracts because I was able to create a narrative around what we were doing. And many of the public sector contracts were 60-40 split. And I was able to write in the tender document what we were actually doing to create environmental and social value, what we would like to do within the contract. So sustainability, in summary, can help us have a values-driven business. And we can think about, even if we're a small business, how we can have some element of corporate social responsibility, or align our businesses with the bigger businesses that have got their CSR sorted. Thinking about culture, it's really important to decide what your values are in the business and what your purpose is, and then to create a culture around those values within your business that everybody in the business understands, and then they can all communicate on the same page. So it's important for values and purpose. It's important for how you report what you're doing. You can, even as a small business, just create a little Word document at the end of the year which explains to customers what you're doing to help the environment and what you're doing to help society. It doesn't have to be complicated, but there are things like B Corp that you can look to be part of if you are big enough, and that's the kind of thing you want to do. So I definitely have a look at B Corp just to see what some of the businesses are doing that are B Corp businesses. And then it can help us improve our financial performance, because what we're doing is we're saving money, we're being more efficient, we are being more innovative. So we're creating some space between ourselves and our competitors and gaining some advantage. It minimizes risk and it allows us to be aligned with policy. So the competitive advantage that I've been talking about is really important, but sustainability also helps us innovate, disrupt, be creative, and think about encouraging employees and everybody in the business to be entrepreneurial. So we hear a lot about entrepreneurs, but we can all be entrepreneurial in our roles. We can all think about the best way to do something, doing something differently. And ultimately, we're trying to create value for the environment, for our stakeholders, the supply chain, and what we call the value chain. So where we create value in the making of our product or service from the beginning to when it's delivered to the client. How is value created for the environment in that process? So there's quite a lot to take in. I understand I'm covering a lot of ground here, but I think it's all important stuff. So in summary, we really want to create a space in the market through competitive advantage, gain advantage over our competitors, and maintain that advantage. And we don't do that by standing still. We never get to stand still in business. We're always thinking about the next thing, the next product, the next service, the next way to do something. We don't really get much rest. But sustainability is something that you can keep coming back to help you think about innovation, disruption, and efficiency, to get that advantage, to maintain that advantage. But we've got some barriers, and we haven't got much time, we haven't got much money. We need to think about the culture of the business. If leadership isn't on board with this, it's not going to work as well. We need our leaders to understand why this is important for business. And then we need a growth mindset that's embracing change, embracing learning, to allow us to create this environmental impact. And we need to understand the policy, and we need some pressure. So we sometimes have pressure from clients, from customers, asking us to tell them where products are sourced from, how things are made, etc. But we don't have a lot of pressure. And that means we don't always do what we need to do, and we don't have a lot of time or money, so we need to think about how to be creative and lean in our approach, and we don't always have the knowledge. So again, that comes back to time. How can we improve our knowledge around sustainability, and how can we teach our teams? How can our teams learn about this? So in order to make a start, we need to know what we're already doing. What are we already doing in our business? And there might be some stuff that we're already doing that's really good, that we just haven't labeled it as sustainability. But first of all, we always think about purpose, culture, mindset. What have we got? What have we got now? What does leadership look like? What does everyone else understand about sustainability in the business? Is it important? Is it not important? What have we got? And then operations, breaking down all of the operations of the business. How do you actually get the product to the client? Do you manufacture something? Are you a landscape business? Are you delivering landscaping? How do you actually get everything to the client? And is any of that sustainably managed or not? Or are there risks, or there are other opportunities? And then you've got the obvious materials or chemicals. What are you actually using? What are you recommending to your clients? What are you specifying? We all have a responsibility to know the carbon cost of what we're specifying, how long it takes to get from where it's made to us, how it's transported, what chemicals might be used, what is the environmental impact of that product. And if you don't know, you need to know, but you can also ask your suppliers to tell you. And more pressure on suppliers means that they will have to just tell us, or suppliers will have to make create product information that tells designers, for example, those things. Transport, where's it all coming from? Can you be efficient with your transport? Can you source more locally? Can you source within the UK? Is it being made in the UK? Why not? Why isn't it being made? Can we make it? Ask all those questions around the things that you're doing in the business. Systems, what systems are you using? What processes? And then there's physical business space. So what are you actually doing in your business space? How do you manage energy waste and recycling? And they're kind of the easiest things, because they're the things everyone always thinks of. And then, is there any environmental value you're creating you can already tell people about? Already tell your customers about, using some of the goals, for example, or is there a risk, and what do you need to do about that? And if you can't create a net zero product, for example, then how can you offset safely? What is the best way to offset your carbon cost, if that's what you're looking at? So this process I've kind of developed, but also it's changed as I've been doing this for a while now, but it summarizes the process. So we start off with the business, thinking about the culture, the purpose, the mission, the vision, and the values, and then all of its activities and its supply chain. Is there any environmental value being created now or not? What are you doing about waste, carbon, and energy? What are your stakeholders doing, and who are your stakeholders, and what do they need? What do they want from you as a business? And then what resource capabilities have you got? Is there anybody in your team that can help you with this, that you can upskill, for example? And then what do you know about policy? Do you need to improve your policy literacy? Do you need to improve your carbon literacy? Do you understand what's happening with the climate and why we need to think about being more sustainable? And then you can use business tools, and I'll talk about them in a minute, but we need to kind of use some tools to analyze where the business is at, and then start to build a strategy for how we're going to approach sustainability. And that will include building capacity. So either upskilling an existing team member, upskilling yourself, taking on an intern, for example, working with a university, and setting some realistic goals, and then starting the journey and just getting on with it. And then as part of that, you need to reflect and reassess regularly. So this is not a static process. You're going to come back to the beginning, maybe once a year, however you decide to do it, but you need to keep revisiting this and see where there are more opportunities coming along. So culture, just to touch on culture, I don't want to go into too much detail, but really think about the culture in the business, the values, the purpose, and if there is a culture, if there are a defined set of values coming from the leadership team or the business owner, does everybody else know what they are? And if not, why? So think about how to communicate what the values are, what the vision is, what the mission is. It's really important that everybody's involved. Everyone knows what the aims of the business are. And make it bespoke as well to your business. And one of the things you can use is a pestle tool. So this is free on the internet. You can just Google pestle, and it basically then it helps you just use a table format to consider the political, economic, social, environmental, technological, and legal aspects of your business. And again, this is a dynamic tool. You don't just fill it in and then leave it for a year. You keep going into it. And if you'd have had a pestle document in April or May or June this year, it would have changed every week because there was so much change being thrown at us. And the pestle might show up some really interesting insights about the context within the business that the business sits in. And it might show you where the opportunities are and the threats are and the weaknesses and the strengths. And that's when you put those things in the SWOT. And that's what the SWOT is: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And again, you can just Google SWOT online, and then you can see that you can easily download a SWOT, or you can make your own SWOT. And these are both two really useful tools for assessing the business. And then you need to think about a strategy. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but strategy is how we create a long-term plan that coordinates the separate business functions, defines the business objectives, and analyzes the internal and external environments, and determines the business strategic direction. So like a ship, you're deciding which course you're going to set sail on, you set your sails and off you go. But the most important thing is you don't just stick to that course, and don't make changes if necessary. So if it gets really windy, if a virus comes along, what are you going to do? You need to think about how to be agile. So you set your course, you have your strategic direction, but you maintain some agility around that so that you can flex the business and adapt if you need to. And this all helps you achieve competitive advantage. You're aiming to do that through your strategy, which might be in the way that you design things, the way that you diversify, and the way that you vertically integrate, for example. And I've got the example there of Harry Ramsden's and Warhammer, who both have successfully vertically integrated. And by that, I mean they own their own stuff from the beginning to the end. So Harry Ramsden's own fields that grow potatoes, they own fish processing plants, and Warhammer, based in Nottingham, they make all of their own products in-house. So they own the product from beginning to end. They're not relying on a supply chain. So the risk is reduced and the cost is reduced. And they can control the quality of the product as well. So when we're thinking about sustainability, we're thinking about how to use it as a strategy for gaining competitive advantage. And there's just some examples there as to how we can do that. I'm not going to go through them all, but think about how you can use it strategically to gain advantage, to maintain advantage, to help you grow your business. And then policy. I'm not going to go through all of the policy now that might relate to the industry or the sector, because it's impossible. Everybody's got different needs. You all need to know what relates to your business, to your sector, and keep abreast of that in the business. It's really important. And to think about what might be coming up as well. What goals have we got coming up? Like what carbon, what net zero goals have we got coming up, for example? And then let me just check the time. Okay, we need to think about tips to start the journey. So again, it's not about perfection. It's not about waiting until it's perfect. You just need to get on with it. Understand the environmental laws, regulations, and standards relating to your industry. I've already mentioned that. Consider the natural environment as your key stakeholder. So when you're making decisions about what to buy, if it's materials, really think carefully about your responsibility as a business and a business owner to source products ethically, to source products that haven't come from all over the world, if you don't have to, for example, and revisit that regularly. Consider the natural environment as your key stakeholder when you make decisions. Commit to operating in a sustainable way. Just get on with it. Just make a commitment. Don't wait. And then infiltrate your business culture with sustainability. Tell everybody about it. Involve your teams. Get them to understand what the goals mean, the sustainable development goals. Get them to understand what you're aiming to achieve as a business. Make sure everybody understands. Because if we don't do it, there's a high cost of inaction to business and society. If we haven't got a healthy natural environment, we haven't got anywhere to put our business. And it's the impact that we can have is biggest when it's embedded in the culture of the business, when everybody understands what their aims are and everybody's on board. And leadership is key to that, but so is the contribution of employees and teams. Everybody needs to feel that they can contribute. There might be something that you're already doing, a product or service that you're already delivering that has an element of sustainability to it. So put a spin on it, you know, talk about it in a different way, sell it in a different way, make sure your sales team understands how to sell it using sustainability. See something that somebody else might be doing or you're doing and think about how you can do it better. Always be challenging how you do things, why you're doing them that way, what else could you do and how could you do it differently. Identify a need that you can better fulfill. What do your customers want? Are their needs being met? Constantly revisit that and think about what they need or what they don't know that they need. Identify a resource that's currently being underutilized. So I guess the first thing to think about there could be waste. You know, what is the waste in your business? Does it need to be waste? Can you stop it becoming waste? Or if it has to be waste, how can you use it as a resource? Exploit new demand for sustainable technology. There's a lot of focus at the moment on clean growth, green growth, responsible recovery, lots of new technology being created all the time. So really think about working with and collaborating with partners, universities to try out new innovative technology and change the way a product is presented. Does it need different packaging, for example? And then think about how to best report what you're doing positively. So who do you need to tell? What's going to make a difference? And how do you communicate what you're doing to your customers and your stakeholders? Is it through social media? Is it on your website? Is it a newsletter? Think about the best way. And it doesn't matter how you begin, just get up, just make a start. And then keep going, keep reassessing, collaborating, and create the environment for others to be sustainable too. You know, share this with your suppliers, with your stakeholders, with your supply chain, for example. So we've had to think about the definition, the basics around sustainability, why we think it's important in business, how culture is important, how we create environmental value, how to think about assessing the business to begin with, what are we already doing, developing a strategy, understanding the policy in the sector or the industry that relates to the business, and then what actions can we take alongside some tips to get started. So I hope that's been useful. We're going to do a Q&A in a minute. So I'll stop sharing. I don't know who's still here because I can't see the participant numbers. And I've got some details about a course I'm running. So this is only available to businesses in the D2N2 area, so Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire, because it's ESF funded. But if you're in that area and you're interested, please get in touch with the through the email that I've put on the slide. It's sale@ntu.ac.uk, and it is free for businesses in that area. And then these are my contact details. So helen@hostaconsulting.co.uk. Get in touch if you need any help. But again, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A now anyway, so we can talk about stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing. I think I've done about half an hour. Yeah. And we can have a really good discussion. We can go back to some of the slides if we want to, if anybody's still here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I've got 31 of you. I'm going to open up the chat. So we can't see each other, but I know that there's 30 of you. Well done for still being here. If you want to put any questions in the chat, it doesn't seem as if we can actually have a proper interactive chat, but I can definitely answer questions if you want to type anything in the chat. If you've all got access, I'm not sure whether you're on desktops or phones or whatever, but let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's been useful, or if you're just going to leave. So far, you're still here. So I've tried to kind of make this presentation relatable to small businesses in the sector, given that I've got some experience and I can empathise with the problems that we've got, but also to try and really get that message across to you that it's a real thing, this sustainability stuff. It's really worth thinking about because you can help your businesses grow with it. And that's the key thing. It helps to create advantage for the business, and there's a definite business case as to why we should be doing it. So no one's writing anything. I'm not sure whether you can. Oh, somebody's got their hand up. Okay. Someone's got their hand up. I don't know what that means. Allowed to talk. Oh, I can allow you to talk. Simon. Oh, hello. I didn't know I could do that. How exciting. Hi, Simon. I think you're muted. Please unmute yourself. Hi. I didn't know I could do that. That's amazing, isn't it?
Technology, isn't it fantastic? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's gone to me. Just Helen, I think the chat box is still disabled. I can't use it through Zoom.
Okay, no worries. Well, we can do this, so it's fine. So anybody
we can do this. So
yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Those of you that are listening. I just want to say, Helen, thank you. You did make it very relatable and very straightforward. And I think we can all find a route in.
Okay.
I think the danger is saying is resource as ever. It comes back to
it's
resource. And I know it's a get out. I know that's a get out. And I think your point about just make a start is crucial.
Yeah.
So I think give yourself a pat on the back, give yourself a gold star, and go, yes, very helpful. Make a start is the key bit. And just I think can you help us in terms of getting people on board across the organization? That has always been the challenge if it's not perceived as being something you know, or with people that don't share how important it is.
Yeah, I think that's really crucial because, you know, in business we have some dinosaurs, don't we? Not wanting to be offensive, but you know, I'm not that young, but you know, we're all at different stages, and and horticulture and landscape is quite, you know, old-fashioned, to be fair. So I think we have got some old-fashioned kind of approaches to business, and we need to bring people up to date and get them to sort of understand the business case. So for me, it's about evidence. It's about gathering evidence that you can share with the people that make decisions in the business to really get them on board with this. And that might be some, it might be some basic stuff about climate change to make them go, oh God, this is a serious thing, we need to respond. But also it might be evidence about the business case. And I'm not sure where you're based and what kind of business that you're working in, but there are lots of resources on the internet. But also if you're anywhere near a university, you can collaborate really well. I mean, where I am in Nottinghamshire, the Derby University has the Low Carbon Derby group, and there's a lot of initiatives around supporting businesses at Nottingham Trent and Nottingham University. There's a lot of stuff going on around sustainability. So I'd really would tap into that expertise wherever you are, and kind of create your own bank of evidence if you need to persuade decision makers to make some changes, and focus on the growth opportunities, because that's the thing that really gets things happening. It's all got to come down to money at the end of the day. We want to create environmental value, but we have to tell people that it's about making money as well. Is that any help?
Thank you. Yes, very helpful. I mean, I'm in the East Midlands. I'm not a million miles away from you.
Okay.
But I'm not in Derby and I'm not in Nottingham, so I can't access your specific support, but I'm sure I can find something to help us here.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening in Leicester, but a lot of the universities are doing stuff around this, so definitely is worth linking up with them. But you can always email me and I'll see what I can do to help.
Great stuff, thank you.
Link you up with anybody wherever you are. So, but thanks for your question.
You're welcome. If I take that down.
Oh, Lynn. I can see Lynn's got a hand up. Does anyone else know Lynn? So I'm going to give you permission to talk. This is amazing, isn't it? I've never been able to. I've never done it. I have used Zoom before, and Teams, and GoToWebinar, and all the others, but this is a new thing. Okay. Hi, Lynn.
Am I still talking to you as well, Helen?
You're still here. You can join in. Clearly, you haven't had to go away. So yeah, just stay there, but maybe mute your mic in case anything happens. Just for now, while Lynn talks. Hi, Lynn. Are you there? Oh, can't hear Lynn. Maybe she's gone to put the kettle on. Okay, while Lynn's thinking about her question, does anybody else have a question? So at the moment, I can see who's still here. I've got Sue. Lynn, just interrupt if you arrive back, but I've got Sue, Sophie, Ruth, Rob, Rebecca, Rachel, Michael, Melinda. I'm going to pick you all out. Melina, Melanie, Leslie, Catherine, Karen, Joe, three Joes, Jane, Florence, Christina, Boyd, Barry, Anna, Alexandra, and Afsane. That's a nice name. So yeah, anybody, come on, pitch in. How are you doing in your businesses? What kind of businesses are you from? I've been to this event in real life, so let's all imagine that we're there and I've got the mic and the mic's going around and you're asking me, because this is the most important part of the session, really. I mean, you don't want to listen to me for an hour. So Rachel, I'm going to allow Rachel to talk. Lynn's still, oh, Lynn's put her hand down. Let me just mute Lynn again. I can do that as well, I've just discovered. All the power. So Rachel, hi. Have you got a question?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I've got my earphones in. I can't hear a thing.
Right.
I was just wondering, I've fully embraced the whole sustainability thing within my business and trying to do my little bit. I'm currently a sole trader, so just me, and sometimes just feel a bit overwhelmed about how much there is to do and all the things I'd like to do, and it's doing that and balancing it with actually doing the work as well.
No. Yeah. What do you
Have
do?
you got any advice?
What do you do?
I'm a designer.
Okay.
I'm a designer.
Okay. And are you busy?
Very.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it depends what you want to do. I mean, when I started my business, I ended up growing it and building a team. And to do that, I had some help from the universities, and I took on interns. And so I had a very low risk approach to building a team to begin with. It allowed me to get some help. So I definitely would look at, again, linking up with the local universities and seeing what they've got to offer, because they're desperate for students to have projects at the moment, because students don't have enough to do that's practical. And the best thing about it is that you can have some remote help. So they don't have to come and be in a place. You don't have to provide an office space like you would normally. They can do it virtually. And I don't think that's going to change for a while. So
no, that's true.
Yeah. So in the summer this year, I had 2 virtual interns from the University of Nottingham that did a 6-week internship with me. And that didn't cost me a penny. So I definitely would look at that kind of thing. But also there are consultancy challenges. You can have some help from a marketing student, for example. So just think creatively, use all that creative stuff that you've got to think about how you can find some free help. And then, or the other thing is that you can sometimes do skills swaps, can't you, with people? So there might be somebody that you know that can help you and you can do a bit of a swap or collaborate. It is really challenging when you've got your own business, because you have to make time to spend on the business. You can't just be working for the business all the time. You've got to step out of the business and make yourself take a day out whenever you decide that you need to. So once a month, twice a month, and spend that whole day working on the business. And I find that really hard as well, but making a commitment to not do any design work on that particular day and turn everything else off and just focus on what you need to do for the business, what the direction is the business is that you want it to take, basically, and focus on working on the business, not for the business. I don't know.
That's useful. Yes, it is. Thank you.
But yeah, look for free help. There's lots around, because like I say, the universities really want to give students placement opportunities, for example, or virtual internship opportunities. So good luck. Just keep going. Yeah. Okay, so who else is here that wants to ask? Have I got any more hands up? Everyone's very quiet. I'm going to go through the names again and put people on the spot.
Helen, I'm just going to come back and just say to Rachel, don't feel overwhelmed. No. You're not alone. We are to some extent all in that boat, because there is always more to do than we feel we can actually do. So the key thing there is find a network if you can, build a network. Find me on LinkedIn, find Helen on LinkedIn. The support is there. You know, you're not alone. We're all trying to do all sorts of stuff.
And that's the thing about—
Thank you, Simon. I do have a good network up here. It's just still, there's always so much I want to do, and balancing, it's always difficult. But you've got some good ideas there as well there, Helen. So I think
that's when you decide, is it just me? Am I just going to be a one-man band? Is that what I want? Or do I want a team? Or if I don't want a team, how can I outsource, support, freelance to reduce the risk if I don't want a full-time employee? So just think about the best way for you to grow the business, because there's no point having a business if it doesn't meet your needs and doesn't serve the purpose that you want it to, because otherwise it's just, you know, depressing. So, and business never stops, does it? We don't start a business thinking that we're going to always be in this process of constantly thinking about what to do next, but that's what we end up doing. Okay, so I've got another question from Afsana. So I'm going to allow you to talk. Oh, allow to talk is not available because Afsana is using an older version of Zoom. Oh no. So I can't allow you to talk. Oh, hang on, did it change? No, promote to panelist. I'm not sure what that means. Does that send you a... Oh, I promoted you to a panelist so that you can talk. I don't know how I've done that. Can you talk now? No, it's not working, is it? I don't know why. I think it must be an old version of Zoom problem. So apologies for that. So again, we've got, how many of us? We've got 27 people. We've only had a contribution from 2 or 3 of you. There must be more questions. Oh, you're asking me a question again. Can I allow you to talk now?
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Hooray.
Thank you for the talk. It's been brilliant. I just wanted to let you know that there are quite a few questions on the chat feature from the website. Yes, so if you can't access them, I'm happy to read them out for you.
Oh, yes, please. Well done.
But I might just need to work out how to do that because I've had to switch to the Zoom app. So
yeah, sorry, I'm not.
So if you can try and see the questions somehow.
I will. Sorry, I didn't realise everyone was doing that.
Otherwise, I can write them down and then rejoin this and read them to you.
Let me see. I should be able to get in. Okay. I don't know. Sorry. To be honest, this is the first event that I've come to, my own event, because I've been so busy this week. Conversations, are they in conversations? Where are they?
It's in chat.
It's in chat and for this particular event. Oh. No, I can't see it.
I'm going to try and put all the questions up on my phone.
Yeah, sorry.
No. That's
a bit of a fail, isn't it? Technical fail.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So give me 1 second, see if I can. Okay. Jules Clark asked, with so many definitions of sustainability around, do you think it's a barrier to understanding?
Yes, definitely. Last year, Nottingham Trent University promoted a PhD opportunity that was all around the world, the word sustainability. It's a whole PhD around that word and all of the different versions of it and misconceptions. So absolutely, it is a barrier. And so although the Brundtland report definition is a bit old-fashioned and stuffy, at least if you just stick to one, and then everyone else can understand what you're talking about. But definitely people get confused with environmental and economic sustainability, and we all want to build financially viable businesses, but we're talking about the environment here. So yeah, definitely. So if you're thinking about how to communicate to stakeholders, to clients on your website, for example, be clear about that definition and help spread the word. You know, if you're sourcing materials and you've got your own supply chain, or you're building your business and you're choosing who you want to supply to you, whether it's plants, planters, soil, whatever it is, you know, make sure they understand what your values are and they understand what sustainability is, and they can help you meet your clients' needs and align with your values. by what they're doing, because we all need help to do this. And if you find a supplier that's supplying something and you think, oh, I don't know where that's coming from, you know, work with them to try and improve their product or understand its provenance. Is that helpful?
It sounds good to me.
It is a barrier. It can be a barrier. Yeah.
Okay. Next question from Joe Barker. Where's it gone? How do you explain what sustainability means to a client who may not be that interested?
Okay. Again, comes down to money and the environment. So I think you can do it in different ways. So if you're having a client brief meeting, start to talk to them about the products, some of the products that you might want to choose for design, for example, or at a design level, you're already thinking about designing in sustainability. So just start to introduce the idea to them that when you decide which products that you want them to have in a project, for example, that you're thinking about where they come from, who's made them, how far they've traveled, and what they're made of, and that you're trying to choose things that are not damaging to the environment. So just change your language, adapt your language to suit the client. Some clients might already have an awareness of this, but then also relate it to, I mean, I remember when I started my business, and I've always had a commitment to using peat-free compost. From 2011, I've never used peat in any projects, because I did a dissertation for my first degree on peat and compost. And so I found out all this stuff around peatlands and peat, and I've always had this thing about it. And I was thinking at the time, you know, how do I justify spending £8 something on a bag of compost because it's peat free, as opposed to, I don't know, £4? How do I tell my clients why? But I just did it. I just made a commitment. I'm really passionate about peat and peatlands. And I just decided, actually, I'm just going to do it and see if they notice. I mean, sometimes people don't notice changes in price, but if they do notice, or if you want to be transparent, you can explain, actually, I've got a commitment in my business to using peat-free compost, or sourcing my paving from Marshalls, for example, who I know have an ethical supply chain. And this might mean that it might be a little bit more expensive, but this is really important, and just explain why. That was a bit rambly, but I hope I got the message across.
Yeah, that was really great. There's a couple more questions if there's time.
Yeah, no, great. I'm just here. Fire away. Sorry, I can't read. I don't know why it's not working.
I have no idea. Sorry.
Thanks for being a facilitator.
Jules, no problems. Jules Clark asks, you mentioned there are cost savings to be had through sustainable practices, but we found that often the sustainable option has been more expensive for clients who have had then subsequently decided to opt for the non-sustainable option. Can you explain more about where the potential cost savings are?
Well, it's often more, so product by product, I don't think you're always going to see a cost saving. I think where you might find savings is in if you're manufacturing. So if you produce planters, for example, it's in your processes and systems within a business. So it might be harder for somebody to do at design level for a client, because there is going to be a cost to a product perhaps that's more sustainably sourced. But I think that we also need to put pressure on those manufacturers and suppliers that are supplying those products, because often there's no need for them to be more expensive to us. So we need to apply some pressure to our suppliers and say, you know, look, I don't have to use this product. You know, I can get this other one half the price, but I'd like to use your product and work with you because I'm interested. I want to create environmental value, but I need help. So put a bit of pressure on your suppliers. Definitely, it's always good to review prices regularly. You know, often, I mean, when I was still operating that business, I sourced GRP planters from a supplier that I've been working with for years. And, you know, every now and then I'd say, hang on a minute, how much is this? Why is it this much? You know, so keep questioning, but it's a bit harder when you're specifying. But I think you either have to make a commitment as a practice to actually only using materials and products that have a good provenance, or you have a balance and just go, okay, well, my clients will accept some, but not all, and decide where your focus is. It is hard. It's a constant journey. And, you know, as much as we just have to try and educate people as much as we can in a sort of sensitive way to help them understand why we should be choosing the right kind of products. And there's nothing more powerful, if you think about paving, than imagining an open cast quarry in India and imagining how far that paving has come and who's had to take it out of the ground. I'm not suggesting that we bombard our clients with horrible pictures, but there are ways in which we can communicate those kind of negative elements of some of our supply chain.
That's brilliant. I actually think it'd be great to show some pictures occasionally. Okay, I think you've got 5 minutes left. So
Okay.
I don't know, one more question if you've got time. Joe Holtham asks, where would you recommend starting when looking at carbon offsetting? How do we decide which partners to work with on offsetting opportunities?
Oh, that's a really difficult one. But yeah, I think first of all, try not to offset in the beginning. So try and avoid offsetting. Try and look at all of the elements of the business and think about how to adopt sustainable practices and reduce your carbon. And there are lots of ways to do that. And if you can undertake a carbon literacy training course, so they're happening all over the country. I'm teaching on one of them, but the Carbon Trust has a framework and lots of tools on their website for helping you calculate carbon and understand climate change. And if you can find a local carbon literacy training course that's happening online at the moment, I definitely would recommend doing that, because it will really help you calculate your carbon cost personally, professionally, and for the business. So that's a really good way of upskilling. So know your stuff about carbon. And then secondly, really choose partners carefully that you might want to offset with. So there's various projects at the moment. There's a lot of tree planting going on in Scotland. You know, just be really careful about how you choose those partners, because you don't want to be greenwashing by choosing some project the other side of the world that says they're planting trees when they're not. So I haven't really got the definitive answer for that one, but just be careful, get those partners to really give you the evidence as to what they're doing, what they're actually, if they're planting trees, where are they planting them, what kind of trees, have they got, you know, evidence.
Thank you, that's brilliant. You've got 3 minutes left.
Okay, any more questions? Is that the last one?
There's a couple, very quickly.
Okay.
Karen Willoughby, how do you keep the client on board with the idea when it may mean that their need for the garden needs to also align with what nature requires, e.g. not putting in lighting as it discourages wildlife?
Oh yeah, well, education, I think. Explain, educate, let them make the choice. Ultimately, it's their garden, but educate them as much as you can. You know, can you have some information on your website about in your section on lighting? Can you talk to them when you take a brief from them, when you go and visit the garden? And then have you got anything you could give them, any kind of PDFs they can download from the website, for example? Any way you can educate and allow them to make an informed decision about those kind of things, because you know, I always did B2B kind of design work, and I didn't have that emotional kind of context all the time. It's easy working for businesses because they just say, sort this out, please, and you just sort it out. Whereas people's gardens, especially now, when we're really precious about our space, aren't we, our outdoor space, and we want to prolong our time in the garden, just educate, understand it yourself. So really get to grips with the facts and then try and educate them in a sensitive way.
That's great. And I guess as a small business, that's potentially where what you were saying about interns is you can bring an intern in to help you put all of that stuff together on your website or your documentation so you can hand it out.
Yeah, and obviously I don't know how quiet people are in the winter. I mean, it's nearly winter, isn't it? But if you've got any quiet time, that's when you focus on the website, for example. But you know, again, put some time in the diary so that you're not designing, you're not on site, you're actually focusing on the business.
That's wonderful. I think it's 2 o'clock.
Okay, so any more questions, you can just email me, helen@hostaconsulting.co.uk. I'm really sorry we can't all meet face to face. It's weird, isn't it? But at least you're all here, and thanks for coming. I hope it was useful. And thanks for your time, and enjoy the rest of the event. And maybe I'll see you if I can get time to come to anything else. Thanks.
Thanks so much. That was really brilliant and really inspiring.
Thanks for your help. Okay.
Thanks, Helen.
Bye. Bye.